After having a pretty impressive season last year, Lauri Markkanen became one of my favorite players to watch. He was getting crazy poster dunks on centers on a night-to-night basis while being a sniper and shooting almost 40% from three. Not only this, but he became the first player ever to make 200 threes and 100 dunks in the same season. And it's crazy that he was the first person to ever do it because he is also 7 feet tall. You don't think that type of record would be given away to someone who's that freaking tall. But with all of that out of the way, let me show you guys how to make my brand new Lauri Markkanen build that is 7 feet tall and gets slashing takeover. But first, guys, remember it is summertime, which means it's going to be really hot outside, so you guys should go pick up a new pair of shorts at my sponsor, pristinejerseys.com. Link is going to be in the description. All right, so let's start off with the vitals. This is going to be the easiest part. You're going to make this build at the power forward position, and that's pretty much all you need to know from this screen right here. And then when it comes to the body settings, we're going to be going with the height of 7 feet, weight 215 pounds with a 7-foot wingspan and a defined body shape. Now, to the people that might say this wingspan is too small, Lauri Markkanen actually only has a 7-foot wingspan while also being 7 feet tall. So these are actually pretty accurate numbers for Lauri. All right, so now let's take a look at the finishing on this build. The close shot's only going to be a 65. If you want to upgrade it higher, you absolutely can, but I'm not going to on my version of the build. The driving layup is going to be an 85, which is going to get you some pretty decent layup package as well as some badges that you can use when finishing at the rim, which include gold acrobat and silver fearless finisher. And then you're going to also get an 86 driving dunk, which is going to get you the basic driving contact dunks on this build, as well as gold limitless takeoff. The standing dunk, we only went with a 71. You can upgrade it all the way up to an 80 if you want to get the basic big man standing contact dunks, but again, that is something that I did not want to do on my version of the build. And then we got post control. Post control, we upgraded to an 87. That's going to get you every single post scoring badge on Hall of Fame, as well as quick first step on silver. Now listen, I can't show you guys the attributes on this build to show you guys how to make this build without showing you guys highlights of this build as well. I mean, why would I show you guys how a build is made without showing you guys how a build plays as well? And I'm going to tell you guys this build is fantastic when it comes to finishing at the rim and as well as shooting threes, but we're talking about just the finishing right now. Now, a few of you guys are probably wondering why I ended up putting a high driving layup on this build. You're probably thinking 85 is a rarely specific number. You don't get any badges at that spot. You don't get anything else at that spot. Why'd you put it to an 85? The reason I put it to an 85 on this build is because that was the high enough rating to allow me to get slashing takeover on this build, which is allowing me to do some pretty crazy things. It's allowing me to get some even crazier contact dunks that we would normally be able to get. And secondly, as you see right here, it's allowing us to dribble really nice as well. We ended up running double slashing takeover, which is allowing us to get an 86 ball control, as long as somebody else also has on silver floor general, because our ball handle is a 69. So we just need a 71 ball handle without takeover boost to be able to dribble like this in takeover. But since we are 7 feet tall and since we get that super high driving dunk, it allows us to do some pretty crazy things on this build. And you gotta remember, this build is a pure stretch. This build also gets a 92 three-pointer, but we're able to finish at the rim like this because we get slashing takeover. And speaking of the shooting, as you can see right here, we are going to get that 92 three-pointer, which is allowing us to get gold limitless range on this build. We're also going to get an 82 mid-range shot, which is going to get us mid-range magician on Hall of Fame, or otherwise known as mini magician on Hall of Fame. And we're also going to have a lot of badges on Hall of Fame with this build, which includes space creator, claymore, corner specialist, which I don't really use a whole lot, but something you could use. Hall of Fame green machine as well. Overall, this build is going to be a fantastic shooting build. But let's actually take a look at the shooting capabilities of this build. Listen, it's going to be very simple. You are going to be a knockdown shooter no matter where you are on the court. You're going to be able to get that goal limitless range, so you can shoot from deep on this build as well. Any catch and shoot is going to be possible to make. Contested, open in the corner, open from limitless, even contested from limitless. If you really got to hit it and you know how to time that shot, you might be able to hit that shot. But as you guys can see as well, we're also hitting lots of shots off of the dribble as well, which makes this build even more deadly out at the three-point line. Now, although the three-point scoring capabilities of this build is one of the best parts of this build, you can also take it into the mid-range area and be deadly there as well. If people start playing high on you, you could get into this midi area, hit your post fades, post hop shots, your dribble pull-ups in the mid-range area as well, and just be even more of a lethal scoring threat. But I really just can't say enough about how fantastic this build is going to be out on the perimeter. I mean, you've already seen the finishing highlights alone, and then you're going to be able to shoot like this as well on this build. You're a knockdown shooter, you're a shot creator, you're an insane finisher on this build as well. This really really mimics how Lauri Markkanen has been playing throughout this entire season. He's unstoppable when he gets near the rim and can hit people with crazy contact dunks, and then he's also unguardable out on the perimeter as well, whether it's with his three-point scoring or his mid-range scoring or even his shot creation as well. And without a doubt, this build was my absolute favorite build to use on offense this year. I know a lot of people ask me what's my favorite build, what's my favorite build for this, favorite build for that. When it came to scoring on offense, this build was my favorite for sure. The offensive capabilities of this build at the height of 7 feet are just absolutely insane. All right, so now let's talk about the playmaking really quick, and this is going to be very simple. You're going to get a 65 pass accuracy, which is going to get you access to Silver Break Starter. You're also going to get a 69 ball control on this build, which I mentioned earlier, and as long as you either put on 2 ball handle sleeves in Park or have someone running Silver Floor General in Rec, that'll turn into a 71 ball control, which will allow you to get an 86 ball control as long as you run double slashing takeover. And that's just super fun things to use on this build, because that means in takeover you could dribble like a guard as well. And then you're also going to get a really high speed with ball as well, which is going to help you get slashing takeover on this build. That's something you definitely have to upgrade if you want to get slashing take. All right, so let's take a brief look at some of the playmaking highlights you can make on this build. Listen, you can make a pretty decent amount of passes on this build. I usually don't like putting a lot of pass accuracy onto builds that are going to be pretty much just a spot up shooter, because you're not going to really be playmaking as much as you think. If the ball's getting into your hands, you're either taking 1-2 dribbles and taking an open shot, or you're hitting that open catch and shoots the moment you get the ball. But you can still definitely throw the brakes on this build, as you guys have been seeing. But yeah, no, you could definitely make some pretty decent plays with that 65 pass accuracy, as long as you know what you're doing, of course. All right, so now let's talk about defense on this build. Listen, this is going to be a little bit more upgraded than defense should be on a Lauri Markkanen build, but there's a concept that I really like with these minimum wingspan 7-footers I want to show you guys. So when it comes to the interior defense, you get a 78 interior. That's going to be where you can get an extra badge point as you upgrade your interior defense. You're also going to get a 65 perimeter defense, a 61 steal, and you're going to get a 93 block on this build, which is going to get you access to gold anchor, which is super nice to have on a minimum wingspan 7-foot build. And then when it comes to the rebounds, you're only going to get a 70 defensive rebound. You can absolutely put this higher, but I only ended up going with a 70 because I don't think Lauri Markkanen was even averaging like 10 rebounds a game. I think he was averaging somewhere between like the 7 to 8 range. I don't think it was necessary to upgrade the rebounding too much. Now, when it comes to the defense, I didn't really have a whole lot of highlights on this build because I've just been super busy just trying to get offensive clips. And not only that, but my defense wasn't really upgraded all the way on the build just yet when I made it. But when the build is maxed out, you're going to be perfectly capable of getting some really great defensive possessions on this build. And here's the build fully maxed out. You're going to get 20 finishing, 25 shooting, 9 playmaking, 18 defensive badges. And even though this build is 7 feet tall, you're still going to get a 78 speed and a 74 acceleration on this build, which is pretty freaking impressive. But now let's talk about takeovers really quickly. You get all of the slashing, sharpshooting, rim protecting, and post scoring takeovers on this build. And for me, I end up doubling on easy blow bys. Like I mentioned earlier, that's going to allow me to get an 86 ball control when I'm in takeover, which allows me to do some pretty nice moves, which include properly speed boosting as well as doing sham gods and nutmegs. And as you can see, the build is completed. We're going to get the player comparisons of KD, Rashad Lewis, and Kristaps Porzingis. And we're going to get the build name Stretch 4, which is a crazy name to have on this build because we get slashing takeover as well. That's going to be it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm out. Peace.